Hello, welcome back. This is the Japanese 1890 Rise of the Dragon playthrough. We're currently at the end of 1899. Our tensions are high with Spain. Everything else is pretty cool. We're running a pretty big monthly deficit, but that should change as these Kawashi class come out of their rebuild. We're essentially trying to go to war with Spain at this point. They do have us pretty severely outmatched at sea, like in every category. Uh, but if they do go to war with us, they'll be fighting essentially in the Southeast Asia area, where we can. They might have us outnumbered, but they'll be fighting at the end of their supply chain and far away from home on the other side of the world. So that's pretty much about it. We have some Yashima class battleships that are being built. Those aren't going to be done for quite a while. Uh, and they're going to even be a month or two longer than this because we developed a fire control that we didn't install on this yet. So it'll ask us near the end of the construction if we want to delay the build by a month to add fire control, which of course we will. So let's just go ahead and jump in. Save the game as always. Hit next turn and we'll see if we go to war with Spain just yet. Tension with Spain is reduced, while tensions with China go up. So that spares us, you know, maybe another couple of months or so before we go to war with Spain. Sort of the longer we drag it out, the better off we'll be. It gives us a chance to work up all these ships that are coming out of rebuild, and it gets us closer. I mean, like I said, I think in the previous episode, these battleships won't play a part in any war in the next 2 years, really. So let's go ahead and hit next turn as we go into 1900. And the U.S. is currently at war with Spain. So if we can, well, Spain's going down again. If we could force a war with Spain, they would have their attention split between the U.S. and us, which would actually be a pretty good deal. So we're getting close to having a normal budget again. So we could maybe look into starting to slowly rebuild our brand new Osama 2s, which seems like a shame to have to do that already. But if we can get these fire controls on here, so the central rangefinder, so it'll take 3 months. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll do these three now, and then we'll wait like a month, and then we'll do the other two. Stagger them out just a little bit. If we could get tension up with Spain, that would be pretty good. Now is the time to strike. Let's go ahead and rebuild them, because having a rangefinder on there, really big deal. If you can get a rangefinder before someone else can, like especially like as you go through the game, upgraded rangefinder, it would be pretty good. Okay, let's push it forward. If we could get like a tension option with Spain, there we go, one up a little bit. That's good. This is about I mean, we could technically go to war with Spain at this, whatever, what is that, 10? Yeah, I mean, we could technically have a war start at this tension level. Let's spend a little bit of our excess budget on building up dock size. We don't need gigantic docks right now, but we do have excess funds. And we'll look at the construction queue. So these ships will be out of rebuild soon. So let's go ahead and let's rebuild the Katoris now. We wanted to replace the machinery on them to get us back up to speed, 21 speed. We'll slap rangefinders on there. We can't go any higher for speed. We don't want to put any more. Yeah, we don't want to put any more torpedoes on here. We can't add mines, but we could add some secondaries. 4-inch. It was a little bit overweight. We can drop the ammo down. So we add a rangefinder. We get our speed back to its build speed, and we add 6 4-inch guns. I think that's pretty good. It's going to take 10 months. But it'll be well worth it when they come out of there. Those will help us through the next several years as far as maintaining a fleet. Okay. If the war starts right now, we'll be in a little bit of trouble because we have a lot of stuff being rebuilt. Russia went up a little bit. It's still low, though. The Fujis, I mean, there's nothing we can do with them. They're 6,400 tons. Yeah, the Osamos will be done next month, the first batch. There we go. We could, you know, go into the colonial crisis with China. That generally raises your tension with the European nations. Our unrest level is kind of high. That might be because of how high our budget is. So let's look at the almanac. I mean, we're still behind a lot of people as far as naval budget goes. So I'm a little bit curious about how high our actual budget is. I wish they would like tell you, but we could. I mean, no matter what, we're getting budget. So let's go with attention and the budget without losing prestige. And we got wireless tele tele telegraphy. Okay. That's pretty good because we had a lot of issues during the Sino-Japanese War where our ships would go over to automatic AI control. Now the question is, do we want to build? We're going into the point where we're going to have like a little bumper, like a little buffer in our monthly balance. We want to build some destroyers. They're only going to be 400 tons, so they're not great at all. Take off the secondaries, make it medium ranged, reduce the guns on it, reduce the speed. So it'll have one forward 2-inch gun. But the only job of this thing is to zoom in close and fire off its 2 torpedoes, preferably during some sort of sneak attack. So yeah, I mean it's overweight by 2 tons, but it's a 27 knot destroyer that has medium range and normal accommodation, so we can actually use it in the Southeast Pacific. So we'll go ahead and build some of those. We'll probably build like 2 squadrons worth, maybe. China's reduced. China goes up. China goes down. China goes down. Let's build 12 of those. That'll give us 3 squadrons. I like to put 4 destroyers into a squadron early on. We'll keep those in the first squadron for now, just in case we get some sort of sneak attack. Although they probably won't show up because of the range problem. So we are getting higher unrest. That's probably because of the budget. So we can just take the prestige option against Italy. Okay, there's the 500-ton destroyers. So let's actually get rid of these. And Designed brand new, 500-ton destroyers. Of course, the timing on that isn't great. So now we get 27 knots. We get normal accommodations. We get the 2 torpedo launchers. We're not overweight, and we have secondary guns. So let's get rid of the secondaries and add main guns. There we go. Now these are some 1 ton remaining. It's, overgunned a little bit, but that's fine. Yeah, so we basically get the same stats as far as the speed and the engine priority and all that, except we get 2 3-inch guns instead of 1 2-inch gun, and we're not overweight. So that's fine. We lose a little bit of time. We lost a little bit of money on building that stuff. And we're going to handle this quietly because we don't want to raise our budget anymore. In fact, if we get an option to lower our budget, maybe we want to consider doing that, like in favor of social programs. All right, so we have 12 of those. We can do 11-inch guns now. There's rumors of war with Spain. That's actually really good. We want that to happen. Next turn. China's reduced. As long as Spain doesn't go down, that's good. We could let's make an alliance with the USA because they're at war with Spain. Okay, well, bogs down anyway. Yep, unrest is still at 3. It's not great. Tension with China is still going up. Let's keep hoping for some things with Spain. Yeah, we'll take improved surface condenser, whatever that is. So 1% savings on, oh, look at all that, a couple of them in a row. So double 1% saving on machinery. That must have been the one we were researching, and then we skipped ahead by 1. Let's not be friends with, actually we could be friends with Italy, which would lower our tension and also lower our budget. So that's kind of what we want to go for here. We want to get our budget a little bit lower. There we go. That also increased tensions with Spain. Let's give them some spies as well. And you know what? We might be able to steal technology from the US or Great Britain because those are going to be like technology, they'll be way ahead of us. So we might be able to start stealing some techs. And the reason why we're doing that with Spain is not because we want their tech, but because having spies over there gives you a chance for them to get caught, and that'll raise tension potentially. So everything is being rebuilt. As far as the Katoris go, we're building fresh otherwise. So we have most of our fleet ready to go in the event of a war. Well, this is our chance to do social reforms, which we don't get, but will our budget go down? We're at 186. Yep, it went down. So we've had 2 budget decreases. So we could probably do 1 budget increase at some point, unless we were over by 2. There we go. We get a battleship blueprint. The Grosser Kurfürst. Let's compare that to, well, we can't see our ships that are under construction, but it's 4 11-inch guns, 12 6-inch guns. We have two 10-inch guns. Again, we went with like the crappier guns, but we're going for that broadside, the 14-inch or the 14 7-inch broadsides. We're gonna fight like old, you know, ships of the line that have cannons. We can finally get rid of these old destroyers. We can put these into divisions, so divisions of 4. And I mean, they're not great. These early destroyers, they basically take one hit from almost any gun and they'll break down. I'll just wait until this last one's finished. I'll just add them all at once to a division. Okay. Um, so he's Prime Minister's suggesting that this guy, he's average and well connected, would be a good choice for one of our battleships. I mean, average we'll take, and that gets us prestige. Like usually when they say this, it's like a crappy officer, but he's well connected. Actually, we'll do. Yeah, so this will be second division, and then these will all be third division. I just like having the division like clumped together. Like I don't like having like this will be third, and that'll be third, and that'll be third. So we could start considering building different battleships with those 11-inch guns that we unlocked. Yeah, we have quality -1 11-inch guns. We can start building actual battleships now. So that probably wouldn't be a bad thing. And we're about a year out from getting our first Yashima classes. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll have 11-inch guns. We have 12 7-inch guns for the broadsides. Let's get rid of these torpedo tubes. I don't like those on battleships. It's not very well armored. Oh, it's also 15,000 tons. Wow, that is big. So let's go back down to 9-inch armor. We could reduce our number of secondaries. That would put us into the positive on weight remaining. And we don't have to get really fancy with this because we're getting close to the point where like actual dreadnoughts are going to start getting developed. So the less complex we go, like the less super battleship we go with this is probably the better. So we can reduce the number of 3-inch guns and maybe make them 4-inch guns instead. We can reduce the weight of this ammo. That gives us 18 tons. We'll go with 90 rounds per gun. 200 rounds for the 4-inchers. Leaves us with 11 excess tons, which is good for future modifications, but also good for staying afloat when you take a torpedo hit, because it, adds to your buoyancy a little bit, I think. So we could build at least 2 of these, and we'll probably build 3 of them. That'll put us at, 4,500 for monthly balance, which will put us in the negative. But we can run in the negative for a year or so. All right, we will do that. And again, this is all just for the future. This isn't going to play a part in the war with Spain. Oh, 12-inch guns. Oh, okay, we might need to cancel that and just start a whole new design. You know what? We're just going to start a whole new design because all the fiddling we're going to do with getting the 12-inch guns on there, All right, this is 13. Okay, a lot of that is saving weight by running 6-inch secondaries instead of 7. Oh, hang on, we didn't go with 12-inch guns, did we? So that gives us 12-inch guns. What if we reduce the speed down to 17? Now we probably want to keep it 18. That'll keep us speedy. This would, if we went to 14,000, we'd still be lighter than the new design. That leaves us 57 tons to play with. What if we did that? No, that's a lot of weight. There. Okay. 35 excess tons. We could even do 16 3-inch guns. I mean, I'm not a fan of the 3-inch guns because they're just so, like, even if they hit, they're not doing anything. So I would rather have less guns overall, but better power to them. And we have, the 6-inch guns as our, you know what? The 6-inch guns are our secondaries. So let's actually increase back up to 16 3-inch. And these will fend off like destroyers or whatever if they get close. We have a 3-inch belt. It's not that great, but we don't want to go too crazy with this design. It's going to get replaced fairly quickly in the next few years. But we will have 12-inch main guns with a fire control at -1 on the quality. Let's keep going. Early coastal submarine. We could build, this is one of those things where you kind of have to build these, otherwise your research will stall. And we just got a new technology for hull construction, so we save 1% on the hull. So what we'll do is when our new battleship class, Spain? Yeah, we can go to Spain, go to war with Spain right now. I say do it. Yep, let's do this. All right, so we're not actually building the Setsu class. That's the 11-inch battleship. Okay. But what we will do, if I could speak, is when the Mikasa is ready to go, we're going to redesign it, and we're going to hope for like that 1% saving on the hull will let us do some, like, add some changes or maybe some more ammo or something. So we're probably going to war with Spain here in the next turn. They have actually increased. I think, were they always at 9 battleships? Or were they always at 12? I thought they were at 9, but we'll see. So their big advantage is really the heavy cruisers, I think. They're, I mean, this Lepanto class is pretty good. The rest of them look like they're pretty old designs, like 20 speed with just a couple of like big guns and a handful of 6 inches. The Lepantos are a little bit more modern. They're still only 20 knots, but they got 14 6-inch guns. The question is whether they have a fire control on there or not. Now their battleships, looks like most of their battleships are these real familiars, and they're only 6,800 tons. They're like our Fujis, essentially. Not that we actually have any battleships to fight back with them, but we could sink those all day, probably. Yeah, let's do a technology sharing with Russia. That's worked out before. And it also lowers the tension. Even though Russia's like one of our, hereditary enemies, being able to take advantage and get something from them while also lowering tension, that's a good deal. All right, so we're going to rework our design for the Mikasa. Oh yeah, and see, we have 59 tons left over now due to the weight savings. So we could add like another 2 sets of 3-inch guns. Ah, okay. No, we can't. So we were already maxed out on that. So do we add 5 more rounds of 12-inch ammo? We could. And that'll probably, it's a 10% change, so it'll take another month to, you know what, I don't think it's worth it. Let's just close it. Let's build a couple of those. That's the Mikasa class. Let's build 3 of those. And those will be good right up until about the time when, right up until about the time they're actually finished and everyone starts fielding actual dreadnoughts. But they could be converted into light carriers and things like that in the future. And if nothing else, they are blockade tonnage. Alrighty. Unrest is starting to get high. That's what, so this is what other armored cruisers look like right now compared to ours. So they do have a central rangefinder on this. So ours are 21 knots, theirs are 20. We're 10,000 tons, they're 8,500, 8,500. We have 8 7-inch guns, they have 2 8-inch, they have 10 6-inch, we have 24-inch. Then they got some tertiaries that we don't have. All right. I am really surprised that we're not just going to war with Spain right now. Are they moving assets in here? It doesn't look like it. There's heavy cruisers there. They don't have any reason for heavy cruisers to be in the Indian Ocean other than shifting them over here to Southeast Asia. So what we'll do is we'll transfer the first and second divisions, first and second squadrons of our destroyers down to Southeast Asia. And that'll give us some options for sneak attacks because they are medium range now. Let's go ahead and raise tensions and hope for a triggering of the war with Spain. There it is. And we get the surprise attack. Yep. All right, here we go. This is our chance to sink some stuff. They don't really have very much. Well, we're only going to have about 3 destroyers. So they don't really have very much in terms of ships over here. So let's go ahead and get these ready to fight. Let's go ahead and get this ready to fight and this one ready to fight. So, I mean, if they manage to get that heavy cruiser over here, they might have like 2 heavy cruisers. The problem is finding them in the dark. I realize, it's a sneak attack, so you attack in the darkness. So what we'll do is we'll go into a search line. And we're fighting in Manila Bay, which for those of you who like history will recognize from the Spanish-American War back in like 1898. There we go. Okay. Let's cancel the search line. We were doing that just to spread out to hopefully get eyes on these other ships. All right, there's a heavy cruiser. So we'll have our second ship in the line. Put a torpedo in them. And we'll go like this. Look like this. I doubt those are all heavy cruisers. But if so, that is a good way to start the war. Oh, wow, we missed. Okay. Unexpected. Let's, he has 1 torpedo left. There we go. So we're getting pummeled pretty well. What the heck is this? Coastal battery out in the water. Sure. Let's try to avoid that if we can. No torpedo reloads yet. And you watch these destroyers of ours and theirs as well. Like if you take any kind of hits, they will sink so fast. Yeah, our destroyer's already probably got hit from the those coastal batteries. And this is the problem with chasing with destroyers in this era, is that while you're trying to catch them, they're putting rounds into you, and all they have to do is get lucky like that right there. Okay. This thing here is doomed. But we'll trade a destroyer. We'll trade all these destroyers for a heavy cruiser any day of the week. These things are 500 tons. They only cost about 150 to build monthly. They're essentially just they're missiles. They're expendable missiles. Let's go ahead and put some rounds in there. And we'll consider this a win if we can. Oh, they are being hit by torpedoes. I have torpedo notifications turned off. What the heck? That's weird. Okay. Well, maybe we can get this little destroyer out of there. He's not flooding right now. Yeah, we'll just. Can he? No, he can't actually move. So let's go ahead and get these destroyers home. We'll go down to cruise speed. Are any of them taking on water? Nope. And no. So we'll send them back to. I don't even know, man. Like we're pretty far away from home. Yeah, we could send them up here. The battle will be over long before they get even close to home. All right, it says machinery repaired. There we go. It's going to be slow. Well, we don't want to get in that land installation. Yeah, this thing's going to be real slow, but at least we're getting it out of the battle. What is that? Another land battery. You know, let's just leave. Let's just get out of here. Whoa, there's a ship. What is that? Is that thing? Oh, is that the? Yeah, that's the heavy cruiser. All right, go back to cruise mode. We'll go to 6 whole knots with this little thing, and we're just going home. We did what we needed to do here. We sank, a battleship and 3 heavy cruisers. They have 12 battleships. They had like 10 heavy cruisers. That's a good, uh, that's a good blow. And we lost nothing, which is pretty rare for a sneak attack. Like typically, you start losing destroyers once their ships wake up. They will be done. So we'll exit the battle. We'll take the victory. We'll call that the Battle of the uh, of Battle Manila Bay. Is it 1L or 2? I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? Oh, we'll say 2Ls. I think it looks better 2Ls. It seems like it's more appropriate. Save the game. So we have one light cruiser that's being repaired, and we have some of our destroyers that are being repaired. Let's look at what they have. They have nothing here. They have one light cruiser essentially. So what we can do is we can start an invasion against the Philippines and seize that. That was like our whole plan from like episode 1 was if we can, we want to get the Philippines because I think that provides oil much later on. And if we win the war, we can grab these islands and have them as our, barrier islands essentially, where they're providing us some different places for people to fight us. And if those are our, home, well, not home bases, but if those become our bases, we can build them up a little bit. We can put some fortifications on there, like some guns and some airstrips later on. And then if anyone wants to come into Southeast Asia and fight us, I guess maybe there'll be a chance that they'll generate battles out there around these islands, and the people will be far away from their home ports, and hopefully maybe they'll have low fuel. Like there's a chance they'll run out of fuel while they're fighting, which will slow them down. They won't be able to deploy destroyers out this far very easily. And if we get into trouble, we can always just fall back because these islands are so tiny that if you put like, I don't know, let's say we put, well, it wouldn't work for here because Peleliu, truck, like all this stuff spread out. But on Guam, if we deployed like, 3 or 4 gun batteries for Guam, they're all going to be just like right here where we need them, as opposed to our gun batteries on Borneo, which would be spread out like all along the coastline there. And we're right about the 40-minute mark. So we've gone to war with Spain. We scored a pretty devastating first strike against them. We knocked out 30% of their cruiser force. We knocked out 1 battleship, which, let's see which one we actually got. We got one of their crappy ones, like one of the 6,800 tons. I was hoping it'd be one of the better ones, but, we'll take what we can get. We sank basically an assortment of older heavy cruisers, all except for this Princess class, which is a little bit newer. It's about 6 years old. Yep. All right, we're going to call it here. Let's save the game, as I always do. And again, if you've been hanging out with me, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and sail safely.